How is it that I pre-order a Nexus 6P the first day it becomes available, and I'm still showing a ship date the second week in November? Do you hate me, Google? Here are the top 6 things that I'm looking for when my Nexus 6P arrives. Number 6, Android 6.0, Marshmallow. In my opinion, there is nothing like a good, clean, pure, stock, vanilla version of Android. Nothing like it. I have tried to use other phones that have had a different skin on top of it, and I just couldn't do it. I couldn't get used to the changes that were added onto the phone. I was just so used to using a Nexus and having that pure version of Android that I just couldn't deal with anything else. And I've tried it before. What I like about Android is that it's very minimalist. It's clean. It's pretty much like starting on a clean slate. There are people who think a stock version of Android is boring, but it's far from it. That's the whole point. It starts off very stock. It has your phone, your messaging, your email, your camera, just the basics. And then it's up to you to add everything else onto it, whatever you want, to customize it your way. That's the beauty of stock Android, and I don't think a lot of people understand that. You know what it's like? It's like going to a pizza place and not even ordering a pizza. Instead, they come out, they give you a pizza with whatever toppings they think is best for you, and you deal with it. I know that might sound like a crazy analogy, but that's how I feel about it. What I'm trying to say is stock Android is like a blank canvas. You get to be the artist, you get to add whatever apps you want without fear of not being able to remove an app or a feature that you don't like. Just to add on, when a company like Samsung or Sony or LG or whoever puts a skin on top of Android, it usually will cause the operating system to lag. And it might not be a lot, and I know a lot of newer phones don't have that same issue as older phones did, but wouldn't you rather have a skin that was made minimalist, that is well performing, and you don't have to worry about another skin on top of it? I mean, if you want to put a different skin on top of it, you should. That's what launchers are for. I feel like launchers are skins that you can add on and you can use to customize it however you want. But that's your choice. That's nobody else's choice. Not to mention that when a company adds their skin to an operating system and Android releases a new version of their software, then a company has to figure out how to integrate that into their current operating system, and that usually means slower updates. So while a very pure version of Android gets updates right away, another company that added a skin on top of it, it's going to have to take a little while because they're going to have to figure out how to implement or integrate all of those features that they've added on previously to the new version of Android. I hope that makes sense. You know what? I sold my Nexus 6, so I haven't even had a chance to mess around with Marshmallow, so I'm really looking forward to my 6P so I can finally get my hands on the new operating system and mess around with it and see all the new features that are on it. Number 5, Fingerprint Reader. 600 milliseconds to unlock your phone. That's a little over half a second to get it going. I'm pretty sure that that's quicker than me putting a PIN number in or using a pattern on my current phone to unlock it. Now, I've heard that Huawei has pretty good hardware when it comes to fingerprint readers, so I feel like it'll be a good addition to the Nexus 6P. I like the fact that it's on the back of the phone too, so that it's not wasting bezel space on the front of the phone, kind of like how the iPhone 6 and 6S is. I've also heard that you can use the fingerprint reader to unlock Google Wallet or Android Pay or both to pay for items, so that'll be a good welcoming feature as well. Number 4, display. So for those that need a refresher, the Nexus 6P is a 5.7-inch display with a 1440p resolution, a resolution of 2560 by 1440 pixels. The display is a big one for me. I've been using my Moto X Pure Edition for about a month now, and I love the display on it. I'm hoping that the Nexus 6P is going to have a similar display with very realistic colors and nothing that's too oversaturated. Now, I know about a week ago, the Nexus team was actually on Reddit and they were holding an AMA about the Nexus 5X and the Nexus 6P. And they actually ended up talking a little bit about the display on the phone. Quote, "We have spent a lot of time tuning the white point and color gamut for these panels." So I feel like they have made sure that the display is a big priority for them. And I know somebody was also asking about what kind of display they're using or if they're using a new kind of display, and they said, quote, the latest generation panel from Samsung. So I don't know if that means they're using a panel from the S6 or the Note 5, but I'm hoping so because I've seen those displays and they look really, really good. Number 3, battery. They put a big battery in the Nexus 6P. 3,450 milliamp hours. It kind of makes me wonder why they just didn't put 3,500 milliamp hours, but I'm sure the engineers and all those guys, they know better than I do. I'm just saying for rounding numbers sake. I'm pretty sure that this battery will probably outlast my Moto X Pure Edition. I also like the fact that it has fast charging. On that Reddit AMA, they said that it goes from 1 to 100% in an hour and 37 minutes. So if I were to guess, I would guess that from 0% to 100%, it would probably be right around an hour and 45 minutes. Hopefully no longer than that, but that's still really good for a battery that's that big that'll charge under 2 hours. I think that's great. Number 2, front-facing stereo speakers. This is a big one for me. I am a huge fan of good sounding speakers on a smartphone. Back in the day, people were like, well, it's just a phone, don't expect too much from it, but I always liked a phone that had good sounding speakers. I always thought that was really important. Whether or not people say, well, I can just plug earphones in or whatever. There are many times where I'm in bed and I don't want to put earphones on. I would rather just lay down, turn on YouTube or Netflix and kind of be immersed in the experience. And yeah, I know it's a phone, but this is 2015 and this is kind of commonplace now. People watch stuff on their phones and that's why displays have gotten bigger as well. I feel that good speakers makes a great phone. You can thank HTC for their M series to start with those kind of speakers, and I'm glad to see other companies are doing that now as well. I never understood why people put speakers at the bottom or on the back of a phone. It just never made sense to me. But I'm going to be picky with this one. I am going to compare it to the Moto X Pure Edition. I feel like those speakers are really great. I do have some issues though with the speakers on the Moto X Pure Edition, and while they're really loud and they sound really good, sometimes, especially when it comes with notifications, there's a little crackling or a little hissing at the very end, and I don't know why they couldn't clean that up, or I don't know if that's just a hardware thing. But be sure that I will be comparing the sound quality for the 6P and the Moto X Pure Edition and see which one is better. Number 1, the camera. That shouldn't be a surprise. The camera initially was never that big a deal for me. Usually if I could take a picture outside and it came out pretty well, I was happy with it. But now that I'm actually recording video like I am with a phone right now, or taking slow-mo videos, or just taking pictures, I kind of really want a nice looking picture. And I don't know if that's grown because I've been using it a lot more, I mean using my camera a lot more, but there's nothing wrong with wanting a good camera. And I feel like the Nexus 6P is living up to those specs, or at least from what I've seen in reviews and how other people have been talking about it. Okay, this is a 12.3 megapixel rear camera, but the thing about this phone is it has 1.55 micron pixels, which means that the phone is going to do a lot better in low light than a lot of other phones that are out there. Somebody posted something on Reddit yesterday where they were comparing the pictures of a 6P to an iPhone 6. Now, I know that's an iPhone 6 and not a 6S, but this guy just wanted to compare. And from what I could see, the 6P looked pretty good. Now, I don't know how accurate these pictures are, or if it was really coming from a 6P, or if the other phone was really from a 6, or if he was messing the settings up, but again, from what I saw, it looked good. There seems to be a lot of hype about this camera, so I'm really crossing my fingers and hoping that a lot of these claims are true. What I learned about the 6P is that even though the 5X and the 6P have the same identical cameras in their phones, the 6P has a faster CPU and GPU that allows it to use other features such as Smart Burst, where you can hold the shutter down and it'll take a bunch of pictures in a row. The second thing is EIS, which is electronic image stabilization. Now, it's not optical image stabilization, but I believe it's a similar kind of feature that helps with a shaky hand. I believe OIS is better than EIS, but it's still something. And the third thing is the fact that slow motion video will actually come out better on the 6P because it does it at 240 frames per second versus the Nexus 5X is 120 frames per second. It is shaping up to be a really good camera. I am excited to take pictures with it. I'm looking forward to actually taking night shots and seeing if I can get some really good night pictures. One last thing about the phone. One thing I love about my Moto X Pure Edition is the fact that I can twist my hand or flick my hand twice to turn the camera on. And I was kind of bummed out that the Nexus 6P wasn't going to have anything like that, but then I read that if you press the power, and this is my Moto X, but if you press the power button twice, that'll trigger the camera, which I feel like is a good alternative rather than unlocking your phone and doing whatever. So I figured that wasn't bad, but then there was an article yesterday that said that the Nexus 6P is going to have a similar feature where you can twist your wrist twice and it'll activate the camera. Now, I don't know if that's true. I don't know if it's just a rumor, but I'm crossing my fingers that it's a real thing. Okay, guys, those are the 6 things that I'm looking forward to on the phone. Now, for a quick bonus, I wanted to add that I'm really happy that they're adding an LED notification light on the 6P. But what I like about that notification light is you can change the color depending on the app using light flow. Now, let's say, for example, I get an update on Facebook. I can make the light blink blue, so if I'm kind of away from the phone or I'm just looking at it from a distance and I see it's flashing blue, then I know it's a Facebook text. Or if it's green, then I know it's a Hangouts text. And I love the fact that it's RGB, so you can pick a color and match it to whatever app is useful for you. Alright guys, I'm out of here. Those are the 6 features that I'm looking for on the 6P. Can't wait for it to come in. Hope it comes a lot sooner than November 10th to November 12th, but you never know. Wish me luck, guys. Take it easy.